So I'm going to call the meeting of reconsideration to order, and we're going to start with a roll call to ensure that everybody's here. So, Dr. Fair, do you mind doing the roll call?
I'm ready. Commissioner Tracy Arnold. Commissioner Laura Austin.
Commissioner Laura Austin here.
Commissioner Jody Autry. Commissioner Kelly Browning. Commissioner William Cheshire. Commissioner Edward Coggins.
Commissioner Coggins present.
Commissioner James Davis. Commissioner Angela Flowers. Commissioner Aubrey Gadet. Commissioner Michelle Gray.
Commissioner Dave Gray present.
Commissioner Don Hester. Commissioner Hannah Jimenez.
Commissioner Jimenez present.
Commissioner Kathleen Linker.
Commissioner Kathleen present.
Commissioner Christopher Madden. Commissioner Susan Mills.
Commissioner Mills present.
Commissioner Lynn Moody.
Commissioner Moody present.
Commissioner Cassandra Morrison. Commissioner Michelle Perry. Commissioner Kim Robertson.
Commissioner Robertson present.
Commissioner Lindsay Seiss.
Commissioner Sayes present.
Commissioner Lisa Springle. Commissioner Stacy Wood. We have a total of 14 commissioners present, so we have quorum.
Thank you. Before we get started this morning, we're going to ask Amy if she will give us a few minutes of instruction about reconsideration. As you know, we didn't have any of these last year, so this is new to us inside this form, so we'll let her give us some instruction about how we proceed.
Good morning, Commissioners. So on your menu page, you will click the reconsideration link. There you will see two links, one for your reconsideration vote and the second link is for your reconsideration notes. After you vote, please click the reconsideration notes to enter your notes because your vote and your notes will be populated into your final report.
Wait, say that again?
On the reconsiderations link, when you'll see two links, one for voting and then one for your notes.
Gotcha.
So when you vote, it will be captured, and I'll show it on screen like you did yesterday, but make sure that you enter your notes for that vote, and that will also populate into your final report.
So we are making the comment ourselves that we did, or is that automatic? So in the past, we would have to write some sort of general statement that said, I changed my vote due to information provided.
You do that in the notes.
So we do that. It's not
Yes.
okay. So maybe, did everyone, so if you change your vote, in your note, you need to, and you just say, I changed my vote after reconsideration based on facts, or if you didn't change your vote, you would just say my vote remains the same. And then, you know, if there's any specifics that you want to add, then. So, Trish,
Yes.
right? When we have to write some kind of thing like that, yeah.
So on the human rights regulations, it says, say, there will be names. Do we have to submit each one of those? Because I know it's already dropped into your report.
As long as you say that, then it's okay.
So like, we can just do the final report and not have to do each one of those.
So the save and finish later serves kind of like a quasi submit button. So we kind of put that in as a fail safe to make sure that we captured all of your information. If you'll do me a favor, if you will log in and click on your reconsiderations link, I want to make sure that everyone is able to see that page, and if not, I'll contact Karen to let her know. All right? Yes, sir.
I'm in there and I don't.
You don't have anything on your page?
It just says name.
Okay, if you will log out and log back in. Okay, and if it doesn't repopulate after that, I will call Karen and have her.
Reconsideration.
Yes, the reading.
Click on that.
Yeah.
And you should see only the bids that are up for reconsideration today will be listed. And again, if you have any questions, just kind of let me know. All right, well, good. Everyone's good. Everyone able to access. Thank you, Dr.
Just a little bit of format, we're just trying to clear up, be sure we're all on the same page and we're following all of the rules that we're supposed to follow. So in a minute, we will start with the college board. The college board has asked for reconsideration in 3 different areas: grade 6, grade 8, and English 2. They will have 15 minutes. I will time them to present. And during that 15 minutes, when it's about 5 minutes left, I'll give you that sign so you'll know where you're at. And then I'll call a hard stop in 15 minutes. At that point, commissioners, you will have an opportunity to ask our presenters any questions that you want for further clarification. So write your questions as you're listening to the presentation. We'll take all of those questions when you're done and you feel like you've asked whatever it is that you feel like you need to know. Then we will start our deliberation with each other, a conversation that won't involve the presenter at that point. After we've had our conversation back and forth about any deliberation that we want, then we will take our vote for the reconsideration. Does that sound like a good format for everybody? Everybody's clear on what we're doing? Okay, so second as I get my timer up. Okay, you can start.
Okay. Good morning, commissioners. I'm Lori O'Day, the Executive Director of Content Development at the College Board. And I first want to express how thrilled I am that yesterday you approved Springboard ELA in our combined print and digital edition for grades 6 through 12. We couldn't be happier at that result. We appreciated hearing the positive feedback from the reviewers about Springboard's strong alignment to North Carolina standards, its approach to teaching writing, its diverse collection of texts, and its strong pedagogy, which includes ample opportunities for differentiation, remediation, and extension of learning. Springboard is committed to supporting all students to be college and career ready, and we built our program based on a simple belief, which is that if you give teachers great materials, an engaging approach, and give them ongoing professional development support, student success will follow. This morning, we want to ask the committee to reconsider our digital-only product for grades 6, 8, and 10. The content in these products is the same content that met with your approval yesterday in the digital-only format. In your feedback, we heard that there were some usability issues with the digital product, and we are concerned that in entering our program via hyperlinks, that there was some confusion, like skydiving into an unknown territory and not being able to find your way around. So this morning, my colleagues, Jessica Brockman, who is our ELA product manager, and Florencia Duran-Wall, who's our senior director of ELA, they're going to take you into Springboard through the front door and show you that there's the same rich content and there is a navigatable digital format. So we appreciate your time this morning, and I will turn it over to them. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So Florencia is going to kind of walk through the pieces here. We're going to focus on grades 6, 8, and 10 since they are the areas that we are asking for reconsideration, but we just want to reinforce that this is the same platform across all grades. So hopefully you'll see as we look at each grade level, you'll see that navigation and usability that was a big concern. So Florencia, let's start with 6th grade. Oh, you probably have to log out. Great, so fluency is going to go into the 6th grade ELA text. We'll start with 6th and we'll sort of move through. And with each grade level, we want to show some common navigation, but then we'll also try to highlight a few of the digital usability experiences. So in the digital platform, in the left-hand margin there, teachers have a navigation pane, and you can see it starts with the table of contents because we know, just like when you open a book, you want to get a sense of where you are and where you're entering. And so she's going to demonstrate how you kind of scroll through the different sections of our book, because again, everything that's in print is right here in our digital as well. And all the way through to the resources section. And while we're there, let's just show the glossary for a second. So we have our resources that are in print in the digital as well. And then if you could just go to the Unit 3, let's look at an activity. So you can navigate through this table of contents navigation, and we're going to go to activity 3.3. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of the features that allow students to interact and engage with the text in the digital platform while we're looking at an activity. So you can see that we have things like our learning strategies, which is a call-out box in print, but it's right here as a drop-down that they can hide or use. We also have our vocabulary, so they can interact with the text and provide definitions at point of use for those lost terms or the academic vocabulary if it's embedded within their materials. And then let's go to the text and just show how they can interact with the text. Students can use their annotation tools to highlight or underline and mark the text. So we still want to ensure that even though they have a digital experience, that they can engage with that text. And then let's go to the bottom, to the independent reading. I just want to reinforce that because we want to ensure that all the content that is there in a print experience can also have a rich experience for students. We have, it might look a little different in the flow, but all the same material is there. So you have an independent reading link, if you click that. So, oh, sorry, you did. We have that built into the instructions so that teachers have key points to connect students to their independent reading, and that's all there as part of the flow of instruction as well. So that process is not lost, even though it's digital. And then let's show them how they can respond to something. So students can add a text box and respond to something, as well as teachers can add a text box and respond or pushing something out to all students so that they can use the digital platform as a form of communication through the materials. Great. So now let's take them to 8th grade. And I'm just going to show another way that you can navigate up at the top instead of clicking back on the main page, just go to that bookshelf. So now she can go to 8th grade. So teachers who teach multiple courses or multiple grade levels can easily access all the materials. Again, through the table of contents, we're going to go into 8th grade, and let's go to activity 2. I'm sorry, unit 2, activity 6. Oh, you know, I forgot to show them something. Could you go back to the table of contents for me there? I just want to point out, just like in a classroom, we want to make sure that we want to start where a teacher starts when you start a unit. So if you could go to the planning the unit. This planning the unit exists in the print version of our materials, but it's here digitally as well. So we want to make sure teachers are supported in planning instruction, understanding what's going on over the course of the unit. All of that is here in the digital as well. So anything that would have been in a print edition is right there digitally. It just looks a little different because it's in a scrolling platform. So they have those copying directories, the layout of the skills, everything is there. Okay, now let's go to activity 6. And just like they start a unit with their planning the unit, when they start an activity, they start that with the teacher app and the planning of the flow of instruction. So let's show them the teacher app. There you go. So it's laid out a little differently because it's not wrapped around a page in a print book, but it has all the elements of that teacher app, including our level differentiated instruction, which is how we support a range of students and offer suggestions and guidance for teachers. The teacher-to-teacher tips, the scaffolding text-dependent questions, it's all there in the content of that teacher wrap. And the best part is they can expand it. Let me show them one. So it's kind of hard maybe to function in that little tiny ribbon. They can expand it full screen and really work with that, engage with that teacher wrap. They can edit, they can add whole sections, they can embed links, they can really do whatever they would want to really own that instruction. And so let's hide the teacher wrap. And we're going to look in this activity, let's look at the word connection box. I'll back up a little bit. The magenta. So I just wanted to point out, we saw how the gloss vocabulary is defined, but we also have vocabulary addressed in a number of ways. So you might see it functioning in different ways. In this case, we have a word connection, which is really building understanding and knowledge around language. So you see it as a drop-down box where there's some instruction that can be added or a mini lesson opportunity. And then if you'll scroll down to, there we go, working from the text. So you can see a practice, we've already put one in here, but Florencia is going to show you how students can, in addition to a text box, they can also add a link, or teachers can push out a link that then would be viewable by all of their students. And it's a matter of just putting in the HTTP address and then saving it, and they can click that link. When they click on it, they want to make sure they open in a new tab. There you go. Okay, and then the last thing in this activity, I want to just point out, just because it's a digital product, we still believe that there should be engagement and there should be collaboration, and students should have a rich experience with text and with one another. So when you see things like our Socratic seminar, they're still supported in having that engaging conversation and academic conversation in the classroom, even though they might be using a digital platform. We want them working both with one another as well as engaging with their text. So we have things like speaking goals and listening goals, STEM starters for their oral discussion. Maybe I don't know how to start my conversation. So all of that was in that print experience is still there because we don't want any of that lost in the instruction if they have a digital experience. Okay, and then let's go to grade 10. We're going to go to unit 1. And back to unit 10. Perfect. So could you do me a favor, Francia, in the top right, just show how they can also navigate from page to page with the arrows there. So like turning a page in a book, they can still do that as well. And go back to 10. And go back to activity 10. Okay. So in this activity, we've already shown how they can do text annotations, which in the print experience, we want them using metacognitive markers. We still wanted to make sure that that experience was possible in their instruction digitally. But what I wanted to point out in this activity, if you'll just take me to the bottom, Valencia, is really the last way that students can submit their work, or one of the last ways, which is in this activity, they have a writing prompt. And so if maybe teachers wanted to assign this as work outside of class, or they're really expanding it into something that gets into a typed document, that students can attach a file. So they click attach, and it opens up their navigation bar, and they can attach a file to submit to their teacher, their writing assignment, or teachers can attach files to share to students. So all of that goes back and forth between the two. So I hope that in seeing this navigation through these 3 grades and the usability that we've improved understanding about the user experience for teachers, and to instill some confidence that a digital-only use of grades 6, 8, and 10 as springboard. Teachers can have the full confidence that they'll still have rich instruction and students will still be able to interact with that text the way we would want them to. Thank you.
You have 2 minutes left, are you good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So we'll begin with questions. So commissioners, what questions do you have for our presenters?
I'm sorry, one of the issues that we had noted from the teachers this summer was that the assessments, when they pulled them up, they were blank assessments. Could you guys show us the assessment?
Absolutely. So just to the dashboard, please, yeah. And then quick assessment.
Excuse me just one moment. Commissioners, when you speak, would you please say your name for the recording?
Commissioner Tyson.
So let's select, you can select anything. That's fine, we have. And then click show results. So these are our digital assessments. You can also, they're in a printable format as well. But if you'll just click to preview it for them. And then just preview these, using it, so it's not closed. So these are our tech-enhanced assessments that allow them to have practice with a digital assessment situation. Students select text that supports their answers. We have drag and drop items. It's a number of tech-enhanced. And we also have, if you'll close that, can I just leave the preview for me? In addition to, we preview at the top right. Assessment. Assessment. And then instead of end of unit, select lesson or activity. Thank you. And then show results. You can just do show results. It'll show you both. And so, likewise, we have short activity quizzes that are aligned with every activity. They have 2 to 3 questions that are targeted specifically with the instruction in the activity and would require students to experience the activity in order to answer them. They're direct questions related to the instruction versus those unit assessments that she just showed that are longer and they align to each half unit and are designed to be like a full read.
Commissioner Coggins, I have 2 questions for you. When you were initially signing in, did you have to clear the cache to sign back in?
It's not required. She, because we were logged in for a long period of time, she just did it to be sure. With changing Wi-Fi, our company computers get a little wonky. But the issue that was over the summer with having to clear the cache has been resolved.
Okay, wonderful.
Yes, good question.
And the second question is, I know it's kind of organized by different activities and everything, but can you show us how it would be possible to maneuver if you wanted to look up a specific objective like reading literature 3.3? Could you search for that and pull up lessons and activities for that particular objective or any objective?
Okay, so can you go to the book again?
While she's doing that, commissioners, if you'll turn your name tags towards the thing.
I turned mine the opposite way.
I just realized that. I was like, I didn't know who we are.
To this page or to the, so this is the main login page. If you log, so this is why the hyperlink, we've designed the hyperlinks to be able to take you to a very specific moment of instruction that was connecting to a standard, which is why we started thinking about it yesterday. We were concerned that maybe that did affect the review digitally because if you go in, so to speak, through the front door, so if you go to the ELA.springboardonline.org and you log in using one of the login accounts that was provided, that it will take you to this main dashboard. And then the main dashboard is where they access their bookshelf and things like Zing. So through the main dashboard, then you enter the bookshelf so that they have kind of the book and then the digital tools. Yes, absolutely. So if you click to bookshelf, and then just and then do a search. So you can search a couple of different ways. You can jump to a particular page in the top of the table of contents search, or you can do the search here. So let's say like, yeah, you can search by, no, do the search there. Let's type argument, just give me a topic. And so it'll take you, it'll show you, and you can do it by location or relevancy, so you can search by unit. It would break it down by each unit where computers as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have a follow-up question to that?
No.
And I do want to stress that as a digital platform, this is not, it's an iterative process. We don't just leave the digital and never enhance anything. So the user experience is something we're constantly working to improve as a digital experience, just like an app on your phone, it gets updates. Our digital is the same way. As it is right now, the content will never change, but the user experience is something we're always making sure to improve, both for teachers and students, both through feedback and through our own development. For instance, we're currently in development for an integration with Google Classroom. We just want to make sure that students have the best experience, both with their content and with their user experience.
That's kind of my follow-up question, which is really hard to know with companies that don't have a long history, is how much they are willing to reiterate the process as you go into digital. Because we found that partners who are constantly in the improvement process with the teacher feedback, that's the benefit of the digital, is that you can constantly be improving it. Whereas the other, you got what you got.
Right.
So that's a real challenge for us to hear your level of commitment to that as teachers experience it when they are having an issue, how committed you are to rapidly changing the experience.
I actually would love to comment to what Commissioner Jimenez mentioned yesterday about the scrollability for students. That's something that's actually currently in our backlog of development that we are working on improving that scrolling experience. It is because it's something that's been made aware to us, but also just in using it and experiencing it. This is our second iteration of our platform. With our new addition, we did build this new platform, and so we're improving upon a previous platform with this, and we continue to do that. That's always been our model with Springboard, which is a continuous improvement model.
Other questions, Commissioners? Commissioner Flowers?
So when you click on the correlation thing, I can see where they come up under each standard. Just, it would be so helpful, I think, for writers if once you click on that link, it then took you to visit all the places without the keyword that they want you to see.
That's actually in development as well.
Any other questions?
Can you be sure that somebody good, kind of Commissioner's thumbs up if you feel like you're good to go. You've got what you need. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Now we'll start our deliberations around the reconsideration of what you've heard, what you think is.
Commissioner, you guys, I said yesterday, I spent some time outside of, at home with my login. Once you get the gist of it, it's easy. It's just a learning curve. And this actually was easier for me today than it was this summer to watch. To see it is always going to be easier than to jump in and try to figure it out for yourself. And actually saw some things I didn't see before. Like I didn't get the teacher push out function, which is just another plus to me of a teacher that have that live communication with the students on a digital platform. It's not something you would have in a print. So it seems to me like this is everything if you have the print option plus the digital aspect of it. That's what would make it a positive experience, I think, for teachers and students.
Commissioner Coggins, I voted no the first time, and one of the main reasons was the maneuverability of it and trying to find your way around it. And I think they made good points about how we were looking at it from the wrong perspective, going through the hyperlinks and having all those problems we're having technically. But seeing it presented just from, okay, here's what your dashboard looks like, and then this is how a teacher goes through it. I think it is much more intuitive than it seemed looking at it originally over the summer. So I think that that's a strong change for me.
Commissioner Stites, I agree. I have everything that you said. Seeing it is believing in it. And just like Commissioner Blinker said, it's difficult on your own, but with just, I mean, you guys did a 10-minute presentation. I feel like I could go and use this in my classroom now, and I would have no problem finding everything that I need to find. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Commissioner Coggins again. Based on these comments, I think it could be helpful for there to be like a demo mode from companies that similarly are going to a digital only, because just even seeing if we had a 5-minute webinar leading into that, something like that, that would make it so much easier for a teacher.
We were having a conversation this morning, and I know that Dr. Fair has been involved in a lot of this, and the General Assembly is even actually very interested in how we will look at textbooks in the future. Won't be the way we've looked at textbooks in the past, right? So we're trying to figure these things out. So thank you, Commissioner Coggins, for that recommendation. And Dr. Fair, I think that's something we take forward in thinking about our rules and procedures and how we accept invitations into it in the future. Can that be a consideration for digital text particularly?
Yes.
So I know it isn't now. It's against the rules now, but it might be worthy of us asking to reconsider that with our attorneys.
And piggyback on that, after this part, when we talk about next steps, we can visit that a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that
As well.
Commissioner Linker and I have had some conversation about how prepping for the evaluation part might be different, either upon receiving samples or during the presentations that you all get during the time that teachers are preparing. But at some point prior to this, having some sort of information about navigation. So I think that it's perfectly fine because of that move toward digital. And not only do we have the legislative desire for that to happen, but we also know that we're seeing more digital in the samples and things that we get. So definitely appropriate.
I think it's save our evaluators and our commissioners a lot of time. You're putting a lot of energy in frustrated areas. Is there any other conversation or deliberation about the college board? If not, we're going to take these votes one at a time, if you will. Are you ready to vote? Okay.
I just want to say one thing.
Okay, Commissioner Flowers.
I feel like this going all digital is going to be the next step towards preparing them for college and career readiness. Because once they do take that next step towards college, more and more courses are strictly digital online. That my son right now is going through that transition. So the more experience they have earlier on, the more likely they'll be able to transition.
This is Commissioner Mills, and my one concern, and it is not really theirs, it's with the lack of one-on-one computers for kids and accessibility, because I know where I'm at, we don't have it.
Good Commissioner Winker, just to kind of piggyback on that, I think that when we look at this, we're not necessarily looking through my lens or your lens, we're looking through the state lens. Because, some districts don't have as much. Some districts are blessed to have one-on-one. So I don't know that we would not consider it because of lack of devices. I think that's something that an LEA or a school would make. They would know we don't have one-on-one. This wouldn't be an option. This wouldn't work for us, kind of thing. So.
Commissioner Mills, I mean, I
keep that in
completely
mind
agree.
too.
Yeah.
It's not you, it might not fit like a specific need, but there could be a need is to keep it criteria, it doesn't make the criteria. And then it's up to the choice for the LEAs to choose from that point. If they have the platform or the hardware or the infrastructure or whatever it takes.
I don't know, this is probably where you're leading to, Commissioner Mills, but I hope the more that we're able to adopt some of these resources, it pushes districts to get off of the and move on with it. Like that's where, we have all these, if you don't believe that you have the tools available, you may not go in that direction. So maybe it's to encourage people to reprioritize those. Great conversation. If we can, we're going to start with the College Board, and we will start with the voting with grade 6. This would be CBD 2001. Do you all have that? Okay, go ahead and vote, please.
Commissioner Reed, I'm asking Karen to reprogram.
Because we had one vote up. I was wondering about that. I thought maybe we just went on too long and I had miscued someone. Okay. Could you, I guess everybody hold.
I do apologize.
That's
Party
okay.
vote, party vote.
You already voted.
Well, when she said vote, I had to pull it up,
I
so.
think everybody voted at that point.
There we go. It's in.
All right, if you haven't voted, go ahead and vote. We're missing one. Okay, in the reconsideration, there were 13 yeses, 0 nos. This one has been adopted and will move forward. Let's take a look at grade A. You will go to CBD 2005. We can get it pulled up. We'll, okay. I don't know what that is.
I think we have an eager
Okay.
voter.
What?
We have an over-eager voter.
An over-eager, okay. Go ahead and vote, please. We have one over-eager and one that is delayed.
One reluctant.
We have 13 yeses in the reconsideration and 0 nos. Grade A has now been approved. We'll go to grade 10, CBD 2009. And we have 13 yeses and 0 nos. Grade 10 has been approved. Congratulations to the College Board. Thank you for the thoughtful presentation.
Also, I want to tell you, this is now available.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your energy and time. Now we're going to move to our next presentation. Is at 9:40 yet? Yep, we're right on time here. Moving right along, we're going to move to Carnegie Marketing. So we'll give you a few minutes to shift gears and get set up and breathe. Yeah. We're not going to rush. Commissioner, you need a break? No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah. Please, yes. Yes.
Just a note for the new commissioners, anything you hand out, that we get back to them before they leave.
Thank you.
We've got an extra. Susan. Plumber place yesterday. Yeah. They have like Not the 32 minutes, the 16 minutes of the Swigs. I thought one was called the Strong. They have their, they have a artistic one on it. It's like $32, but I was like, more than that. Like, I really, so I came back and I Googled it last night, like, you know, hey, you like rarely go to walk away. And I'm like, I'm not gonna pay $30 for that. And I got back and I was like, I don't know, I really did really want it. So I Googled it, and it was like still $32 on the sign. I woke up this morning, I can't think about that one for a day.
They have these.
It was so good though.
I like to go to the South Carolina Appalachian stuff. We can't find it if they
Yeah.
coming up this way we can, so.
Yeah.
I must see.
I just really like that one.
Well, I just don't want anybody's husbands to blame me for killing
I
everybody.
know. It's all gonna be your fault. You can let us know when you're ready.
Okay.
Okay. But we're not rushing you, but just let us know when you're ready.
Good morning, I'm Muffet Hughes with Harmony Learning.
Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. 1 second. You gotta get everything on record, so. Everybody is in there. Are we all ready? Oh, yeah, transfer. Yeah, we've got one commissioner,
That's good.
Do you mind if I use the ladies' room?
No, go right ahead, yeah, go right ahead, yeah, we can wait a minute.
What grade?
Seventh grade.
I love Ricky Tikki Talks.
Seventh grade. That has been in every, it is like the seventh grade
Okay,
canon.
I can deal
It
with
is in
seventh grade.
every
As a child,
one.
I mean, I used to read it to Katie all the time when she was little. Look how she turned out. She's turned and made her really angry.
Laura, I was gonna read your cover. So left brain and right brain, this is like your, you are right brain, is that?
You are so
grade
right.
seven.
This is like, woo, this is like the tiny size of the ball.
I had a kid though, I was
Okay.
carrying down the hallway and he said, Miss
Oh,
Austin,
okay.
Miss Austin. I said, what? He said, so is this brain, he's talking about, he was talking about this brain. He said, is this brain the smart brain? I said, no, because without this brain, you wouldn't have any ideas to put into this brain. It was great though.
It's funny to me because I kept looking at it, I think that that's really supposed to be illustrating that right brain special, but your comments are not right. You can think very technically. Because your comments are very technical, your comments are not right. Kim's comments are more right brain.
Yeah,
More left
yeah.
brain, so that shocked me when I saw your cover. I was trying to put that. Yeah.
So we make a good
There
balance.
you go.
I heard this chancellor at a liberal arts college talk about liberal arts education. And the way he expressed it about the beauty of the world and missing the beauty, I mean, it changed my mind about everything, about how I thought about liberal arts, words. Okay. Okay, I think we are all back, and just the same round rules, I'm gonna put you on the clock. This will ring at the end of 15 minutes. We will have a hard stop at that point. I'll try to be conscious
talking
of
about
giving you about a
kindergarten.
5-minute warning, so you know where you're at in the process. But the floor is yours, and so this is Carnegie Learning, just to remind everyone, there are 3 considerations on the floor. It is kindergarten, 7th and 8th grade.
Thank you for allowing us this time to ask you to reconsider your vote for our kindergarten bookshop literacy program to join its sisters 1 through 5. And then also for our Mirrors and Windows grades 7 and 8 to join that series that's listed 6th through 12th grade. Today we have Tracy with us to help present, and then on the computer listening in the program authors. So they're excited to hear your opinions and discussion about our program today. Just a point of housekeeping, when we get to the CL 2007 and 8, the Mirrors and Windows, the handouts you have in front of you are an exemplar set of pages from the teacher edition to show comparison text. And then behind that is that our response to the concerns about the specific standards that were listed out yesterday. And you'll see some of the print is black. That was the pages given to you in the correlations documents. The blue type are the additional correlation citations that are available inside this teacher ebook. And Tracy will show you that as well. So let's begin with kindergarten.
All right, well, good morning, everybody. Tracy Maxwell. I'm a learning solutions specialist for both our English language arts and literacy. And today I'm going to show you some of the things I hope that you will reconsider based on some of the concerns you had yesterday. So starting with CLE 2000, I just want you to know that our editors and creator of this program took great care in making certain that all cultures were represented within the program. So you're going to see the vast of diversity within the program itself, as well as the readers. And I also want to address your issue and concerns with the 4 C's and how we address those throughout our program. Here you'll see when we talk about collaboration. So we do reinforce collaboration when we look at doing some of our shared projects. Here you'll see an example of one of our shared writing projects. And I'm just going to read just a tad bit from here where the students are asked, as they're looking at collecting evidence, that they need to go in once they understand the premise behind that text. We want the students to first turn and talk with a partner about this particular content. And then next, we're going to talk a little bit about communication. So our feature within our program, Discussing the Text, will give students an opportunity to communicate as well as think critically about what the text is and what they need to glean from that particular text. Creativity ties really strongly within our thematic focus in the program. Here's an example with Imaginary Worlds. Here we're asking students to tie in and extend the theme through music. So you'll see that built throughout many of the thematic focus within the Mondo and Bookshelf program. And then lastly, going back to that Discussing the Text, this is where we're asking students to think critically about what they've read. So here's a great example. Who can share what you've noticed about the narrator? The narrator is a character again, and it's Macy. She pretends that she's not the character in the story, though. And then goes on to ask, well, how does knowing that Macy told the whole story affect the way you think about the text and what you just read? So that feature will bring in a lot of those critical analysis and critical thinking skills here, and you'll see that we've allotted about 10 minutes for that. And there were some questions about how we approach the phonics within our program, and I wanted to kind of show you what sort of like a day in the life of a teacher would look like. So here you'll see the support for the phonics instruction. So you'll see the theme at a glance. We've highlighted for the teacher what skills will be taught within that particular phonics block. Then as we move into the daily support for the phonics, we will tell teachers what page to turn to in the Bookshop Phonics Teacher's Guide that will approach the phonics from a daily approach. And then here is where we will outline and show teachers within the Teacher's Edition exactly what that phonics block is, what content, what skills are focused and addressed within the phonics block. And then lastly, through the teacher wrap, we want to go in and reinforce those phonics skills within the teacher's wrap. 21st century skills, and I don't know if any of you had, or any of your reviewers had the opportunity to review our online e-reader, but we do have a pretty robust online e-reader here. Within it, students will have access to their ebooks. It allows for audio and tracking. There's search functions, and of course, to engage the students, we've got the interactive games as well as the interactive quizzes. We provide tons of support here for your teachers as they're implementing the program. And then lastly, what's important is to make certain that you have a way to track student success. So we do provide the online support for performance tasks, constructive response, and then their assessments. So now I'd like to turn to the CLE 2007, Mirrors and Windows, Connecting with Literature. And here we're going to focus on some of the standards that you all had identified that you felt we might have been a little weak with. So here is standard RL 7.2, determining the theme of the text and analyzing its development over the course of the text, and then provide an objective summary of the text. This is out of our Unit 2, the scholarship jacket. It's a selection here. What we do within the Mirrors and Windows program at the selection level, we will target specific literary themes and then build upon the student's knowledge within that particular selection. So here you'll see that we're asking students, as they're reading the text, ask yourself questions such as, of all of the ideals in the story, what can I say in one sentence that will sum up the author's main point? Write your answers in a notebook. Then we take that within the close reading strategies within our program. As the students are reading the text, we're providing them the guided reading prompts that will focus and tie back within the theme. You'll see the close reading prompts here and the close reading prompts here. But you'll see that same feature built within all of our guided reading selections as it relates to the analyzing literature based on the literary skill that we're focusing on. And then we'll go back and analyze the literature based on the reading skill. So now we've got the first and second reading for the students. After the students have read that particular selection, now we're going to have them analyze the literature, looking again back at theme. We're asking the students to pretty much create a graphic organizer, a circle chart, and then write the ideals and details of that particular theme. But then we tie it in with a writing prompt. The writing prompt is asking students, use your theme map to draft an informative paragraph in which you explain the story's theme and then support your explanation with evidence from the story. So now you see how we kind of carry the literary elements within the text from the beginning and to the very end of reading that particular selection. And then for students who need some enrichment, or you're gifted and talented students in your schools, we also provided, to go along with this particular selection, an enrichment project that asks students to evaluate and look at multiple themes and levels of meanings. And that's all tied to one particular selection. All right, the other standard here was standard RL 7.7, where you're asking students to compare and contrast written stories, dramas, and poems to its audio, film, or stage, or other multimedia versions. And I just wanted to show you, and of course you've got some other pages listed in the correlation, a couple of different examples. Here is from page 450, where we're looking at A Christmas Carol. And this particular critical literacy project is asking students, after they've read that particular act of that play, we want students to go in and evaluate that act and compare it to the film version. And then here on page 472, along with the Christmas Carol, you'll see a couple of images, and we're asking students to compare those two images with the actual play that they're reading. And reading RL 7.9, compare and contrast a fictional portrayal of a time, place, or character in a historical account of the same period as means of understanding how authors of fiction use or alter history. Here is an example, and throughout our program, you're going to see tons of opportunities for students to do text comparison based on a common topic or based on the literary elements. This one happens to be a comic topic. This is a fictional portrayal of young boxers and their competitiveness. We paired that particular story with a biography by Walter D. Myers on the greatest Muhammad Ali. And then we're asking students to go in and say, and do that text-to-text connection. This question asks the students, Myers writes that a fighter visualizes himself winning, punishing his opponent more than he is punished. Compare Myers' description of a fight with the way Thomas describes the fight between Felix and Antonio within that particular selection. And then based on what Myers writes, do you think Thomas gives a realistic portrayal of the boxing match? And then go in and explain. Here is an example here of we're asking to do comparison and analyzing based on the perception of two different authors. The same setup where this Alborz ships in the desert, we're pairing it with an informational text here, and then we want students to go in and do some comparative analysis. This is just an example from 2 units, the types of paired text that we have built into our program. But your handout there, if you turn to the very first page, you'll see where we're asking students to do a text comparison based on a common thread within the literary elements. And then if you go to the tab there, you'll see that this is paired it with Riki Tikitabi and the Green Mamba. And then on the very last page, where you see the analyzing literature and the comparison, there we've got the comparing questions there that will go along with that particular text. In grade 8, there was evaluating advantages and disadvantages of using different mediums to present particular topics and ideas. On page 260, 261, we do introduce and go in depth with a workshop about the visual media, and then we support that with teacher instruction within the teacher book. Here we've got the table of contents. We talk about read and understand informational text. And I just want to highlight, if you look at our table of contents, you will see tons of informational text within every single unit. But we take our informational text and we pair it with the literary piece within the unit. That's where you get the title, Mirrors and Windows, Connecting with Literature. In the writing, informative writing prompts, I just wanted to show you that we do include 2 informative writing prompts in grade 8. We also have an additional informative writing prompt within our packet of resources. And then here you can see within the selections, there's always 2 writing prompts. This is an example from Unit 1, where you've got an informational essay, informative brief essay, and an informative essay, which is a narrative analysis. So we do embed informative writing prompts within the text as well as within the in-depth writing workshop. And here's another example when you look at the narrative writing prompts. This goes along with that particular selection, and then there you've got the more in-depth writing prompt there. And then in terms of what we do to help students with the writing process, you'll see here within our writing workshops, we do address and walk students through the writing process. We do talk about transitional words, how to use them. You'll see that model here with the student model as well as part of the instruction of that particular writing workshop. Our standards for North Carolina Standards of Studies are built and embedded within the Teacher's Edition online. So when your teachers have access to their online book, they pop in, they'll have the standards that are there at point of use at the page level. So it's not just the standards themselves as it's kind of listed, RL 7.9. We actually give the detailed explanation of the standards right there at point of use at the page level from the teachers. So I would like to stop here and open the floor for any questions.
Nice timing, thank you. Okay, commissioners, what questions do you have for Carnegie Learning about these 3 areas, these 3 reconsiderations?
Commissioner Tyson? One of the notes that I have for the 7th and 8th grade mirrors and windows was that there was no instruction given for the speaking and listening standards. Can you speak about that?
Sure. Within every unit, well, there's a couple of things that are going on. Within every unit at the selection level, we've got tons of what we call mini skills workshops. Here's one that talks about vocabulary skills. If you flip through, there's reading skills, but you'll often see writing as well as, here's an example of speaking and listening. So what we're doing, again, is connecting back to literature. So we're not trying to do everything within isolation. We want to make sure that we're teaching all of those various skills within the context of the literature, and the types of questions or activities are based on the writing style of that particular author. And then we also have in-depth writing and speaking and listening workshop at the end of every single unit. Along with that workshop is a teacher resource manual that will include Blackline copy masters or interactive activities online that the students and the teachers can assign.
Commissioner, for the middle school especially, I didn't see anything about, I'm concerned with the lack of 4Cs and digital platform. It's very old, boring, basically PDF versions. Did I miss some things in the 6 and the digital part of it?
Yeah, no, do you mind? Can I show you?
Yeah, let's answer the question.
Okay.
I mean, other than PDF versions of the text, I didn't really see anything that encouraged collaboration and problem solving. I didn't see that in the level questions either. I didn't see a higher level question. I didn't see anything really in the digital.
Okay. Our digital platform for mirrors and windows is it's designed to kind of take what that content you see there and make it interactive and robust for the students online. Now this here is what your teachers will have here in North Carolina with their standards drawer right there at point of use. But what I'd like to do is kind of take you out and show you, because were you looking at it from the teacher side? Okay, I would like to go in as a student, if that's okay, so you can see that.
We have a student view. I don't think we had the student view. I may be wrong, but I don't
On
think.
the original instruction sheet, there were credentials for teachers and credentials for students. It's like my student 130 at mine's teacher 130.
Okay, so here, what you see here is the course, the teacher dashboard. So when teachers go in and log into Passport, they'll automatically kind of see some significant data about the assignments. And when you're thinking about high school, middle school middle school students, we make sure that they're staying time on task with all their assignments. So they'll see what's due, what's new, what's overdue. I'm gonna go in here, because as a teacher, I can launch the student view. And so the student side of the website, their homepage will always have their actual student edition at the very top. And then if you see over here to the far right side of the screen, this is where students will get any notifications from their teacher, or when they'll know what assignments are due for that particular day. And then here is where students can go in and see all of their workbooks, interactive workbooks, their novels. We also have access to what we call reflowable text for the students. Here is Flipgrid, and this is, are any of you familiar with Flipgrid? Flipgrid is embedded within our program. So this is pretty much outside of the activities that will ask students to participate in a collaborative project. We use Flipgrid as part of our program in a couple of different ways. One is teachers have access to it so they can assign any question that they want to get the students to begin to collaborate. But the other way is that it's attached to our Mirrors and Windows questions. So every single selection will have Mirrors and Windows question that will help students sort of connect with the text in the very beginning. And then after they read the text, then we want students to look and see that their perspective changed a bit after they read the text. Here you'll see, this is an example, this happens just to be teachers, but you'll see with that collaborative piece, now students will. That's
Same
because I had
team that developed Flipgrid developed our platform. That's why we have it embedded within our platform as opposed to outside of it. While she's calling that up, the workbooks that you see in print are available as interactive workbooks online here, and when the student opens them up, they type into them and those answers go. So there is interactivity built into what you would see as the print resources as well. Audio on the books and the story shares and that kind of thing.
So the way that students would see it, that the students will have all of their, let's see, there we go. And now they've got all of their student responses. So this is tied to one of our Mirrors and Windows questions.
And going off the question I was asked, have you ever took any kind of risk or done anything courageous? Well, yes, I've done many of the things because I'm very athletic student, very motivated, dedicated. But I feel like none of those things really made me courageous. One thing that did make me courageous though, when I was younger, I first moved here, was when I was invited to a birthday party. And there was this beautiful.
So now what students can do, they can either respond to the question, they can collaborate, respond to each other. There is a feature in here where teachers can hide student responses, because sometimes you've got those shy students and you want to get them comfortable, but the ideal behind this is that they need to become comfortable if you're looking at 21st century skills. The other focus here is So here's the assignment side on the student. So students will see their assignments, the assignment icon. There you'll see those are the different shared questions. And then here are the assigned questions from the actual resources or the textbooks. So when students go in, they can go in, fill in their answers here. So all of that is there and interactive for the students in terms of completing some of the questions and the prompts. And then the other component I wanted to show you. And here, back in the teacher's edition, when teachers go in, we've got a text that we call our selection and flowable text. And this will allow, again, a way for students to collaborate as they're reading the text. So I'm just going to pick one of the selections here. Hollywood in the Pit. And again, these are assignable on the student side. So if you notice that the selection of the text doesn't have the pre-reading and post-reading pages, so this is ideal for teachers to go in and give students an opportunity to kind of apply what they've learned from all the scaffolded instruction within the class. So the teacher can come in here, they can highlight and set the settings for the students where they can, teacher settings, they can allow students to socialize as they're reading the text. The socialize feature will give students the opportunity to see sort of like a discussion thread of all of their annotations and their notes. The class mode will allow students to see other students' highlights. And then here, the course labels, teachers can go in, so when they want to target a specific skill or specific topic, and they want students to kind of just hone in on that topic, then they can go in and change these labelings to reflect what the teacher is teaching in the class. So now they can rename that label. It won't let me rename it right now. It could be my internet connection. But here, when the students go to identify the content or what the teacher has assigned to them, now they've got that color highlighter there. So now they can identify that this is, for example, the main concept here, and then they've had the ability to go in and type in their notes and then share those notes with students within their class.
Do you have any other questions?
That helps.
Yeah, commissioners. Clarification on any of the areas that you would like questions. If I see a thumbs up if you're good to go to, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll now have some deliberation about what you've heard before we get to a vote. So I open up the floor for deliberations on any of the three adoptions.
Commissioner Jimenez, I feel very much like what we just experienced with Chris. We just needed to see it in action. And sometimes, like, when we're messing around, we can't see the things that we need to see without very clear instructions. So just being able to see it, I mean, I understand it's so much better.
Okay.
Commissioner Lane, I think, like Ms. McMahon said, that seeing it is definitely made it easier. I just spent a lot of time in this one too, and I couldn't find it. And you had a little difficulty going in and out because there's so much to it. So again, I think with a lot of upfront PD to kind of show how the different ways to navigate the stuff, that answered my questions. And I could find where they could collaborate and have those discussions. Because to me, the worksheets, the workbooks, the digital stuff, that has a place, but that does not take the place of the 21st century learner. That's more content-based kind of stuff. So it was really helpful to have the direct, go here, here's what it looks like. So then I could go in and look for myself now that I'm going to do it. So I think that cleared up my questions I had for all three levels, actually.
Yesterday in the conversation, a couple of commissioners had specific areas that they were concerned about that they didn't see. I just want to be sure that those have been addressed, or if there's any comments about, feel like they were or were not addressed. Is there any other deliberation around that? Okay, there's no further deliberation. Then we will move to a vote. Are you ready to vote? All right, we will start with Carnegie Learning 2000, which is the kindergarten.
Dr. Moody, can you state the bid number?
I'm sorry, it's CLE 2000. Grade K, Carnegie Learning. You can vote. We have 13 votes, 12 yeses, 1 no. The kindergarten for Carnegie Learning has been approved and adopted. Let's move to grade 7 now. That would be CLE 2007, Carnegie Learning, grade 7. You may vote. Okay, 13 votes are in, 10 yeses, 3 noes. Grade 7 has been approved for adoption. CLE 2000, we are moving to CLE 2008, which is Carnegie Learning's grade 8. So you may vote. There are 13 votes in, 11 yeses, 2 noes, so grade 8 now has been approved for adoption. Thank you, ladies, nice job.
Thank you.
Appreciate the additional information for some clarification. This kind of concludes our reconsideration session of this. Dr. Beard, do we adjourn before we go into the business meeting, or we go straight into the business meeting?
I think you can go into your business meeting because it's still all your meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're going to take a 5-minute break to kind of let them get their stuff assembled. So if you need to stand up, take a stretch break or whatever. Oh, yeah. And we can give you all these back. And then we will start with our business meeting. And if you'll have, we're gonna talk about the operations meeting. We just need to review our business meeting. Some of the comments that we were probably going to talk about a little bit in the business meeting earlier kind of came out with the first review. But I think as we think about processes to improve Dr. Fair and where we're going heading forward, you know, the day of when this morning at breakfast we were talking about what's to be reviewed next and then next, and how long it's been since we've done CTE or like high school math and those things. As we start to look at these digital textbooks and that becomes more and more of a way of the future, 5 and 10 and 15-year adoptions are ridiculous. Like, that's not the way you buy. That's not the way you purchase. It won't be helpful to districts if it's only reviewed. So I think the way in which the commission operates and the work that we do has a lot of value, and it still has a great deal of value. But the framework around it's got to change dramatically because we're just in a different period of time. So personally, I can foresee in the very near future that we may be looking at lots of multiple adoptions across the board, fewer people on the commission, and 3 or 4 evaluators on each topic area of experts, and bringing together over some period of time, like a yearly adoption of or recommendation, very much like every boards does. So what's good? Does it meet those standards? Does it meet some of that criteria? So it's really more not an adoption, but really advisement to our districts about what is good that's out there and valuable and meets all the kind of criteria that you guys have been looking at, so that it might even look more like ed reports in a ranking of what we think is really good for teachers. So we say teachers in district time. If you're looking for 9th grade math, these 2 or 3 we think are really good. Go with them. You know, if you're looking for 11th grade math, maybe similar to how Consumer Report ranks. You want a washing machine? You go in and look at the criteria and it has this many stars. So I can foresee the commission moving into that kind of direction in the really near future. There's written materials available for you, there's digital materials available for you, and here's how we see them. But because digital materials are updated constantly, it would be, to me, insane to ask a company that we adopt their digital materials and think that you wouldn't redo that again for 5 years. I mean, that flies in the face of why they did it digitally to start with. Like, that doesn't even work in today's world. So anyway, I think I'll give a lot of consideration, and we should probably have some further dialogue about the future of the textbook commission and some recommendations that we might would have moving forward. And if you want to personally email me and Dr. Fair about that, then and Katie, we'll take those kind of comments and start to merge some things and begin to talk to others about what the commission is thinking about the future of the commission. Does that sound good, Dr. Fair?
Yes, it does. Mm-hmm.
And I know I say this, I tried to say it publicly, but even with the door shut, so to speak, in this room, like, I just really admire the work y'all done on this. I love hearing the conversation, how smart you are and the digging in the work. And I do feel like that the state should be really proud of. I don't think they have any idea how hard y'all work and how absolutely competent you are in these areas. So I'm just grateful for that. Couple of things, the operations manual, I just want to point out to you, and we usually do a pretty thorough orientation in February, I think around February or so. But in your operations manual, when you are in doubt, I would just say, I'm a just-in-time learner. I don't do well to memorize something and then not need it for 2 years. But it is in there. So it talks a lot about quorum, and I think most of you are familiar with that, meetings and agendas and those issues and standard conduct. There's a section on page 4, Rule 10, that talks directly about attendance. And I'm going to turn that over to Commissioner Linker to talk to you about that for just a minute.
My voice is better than this, Commissioner. It takes me a minute. I should have printed it. I don't know if you guys been in Google, when I pull it up and try to download it, it doesn't, Operation Manager, it doesn't look the same. Okay. So basically, I think The discussion of attendance came up mostly, because it is in here, is that we've had 2 commissioners this year ask, they had some emergencies, emergencies come up about leave of absence, and we hadn't had that request before. Dr. Fair reached out and said, is that something? And the response was, you have in your folder, was just the executive order from the governor about office commissions. And there's several hundred commissions that the governor oversees, or one of them. But the governors, they're pretty cut and dry about attendance. That you need to make 75% of attendance to be an active member. And they would not allow for a leave of absence, because a leave of absence would be more than 75% of the meetings for that year. And so if that would be something that anyone would want, it would just, let Dr. Fair know that they would need to resign from their position, and then the process would be Dr. Fair would let Dr. There's a certain person that she lets know they will resign. It's the governor, I'm assuming.
It's the person who's in charge of commissions and boards at the governor's office.
And then sometimes there's a recommendation for replacement. It's made from superintendent to the governors who have a list. It would be like this person's resigning, and we would like to place, or we would like to request this person to take the place, and then the governor's office is the one that says yes or no on actual.
And there have been some, this is Carmela Fair, there have been some instances in the past where there have been some members who just haven't attended and they haven't communicated, and so then they were just replaced. So there's 2 ways to do that. It can either be by replacement, is if there is a lack of participation, a lack of attendance, or by resignation. Either one the governor's office would accept.
And so I think, especially as we plan and look at next year, it kind of goes to the next steps thing, is that when we set our tentative timeline, and that's in the invitation that is kind of set, that we all make an effort of emergencies happen, we know that. And if there's 23 members and there's 2 or 3 emergencies, you're okay, you still have a quorum. But we have some vacancies, and then we have people that don't come because of the emergencies, and we're right at quorum, and that's happened a couple of times. We've had 14 or 15 coming, some who knew they couldn't come, and then emergencies happen, and there's no wiggle. If that makes sense. So just to keep that in mind, because that is one of the hurricanes probably had to be scheduled the last county. That's an emergency, can't control. But emergencies do happen. I've had knee replacement a couple years ago in June, in this evaluation week. I wasn't planned, and I had to have this emergency. So just to be mindful of that. If it is attendance is a problem, and there is no communication, especially like if you're not coming at 10 and you're not communicating, you're not answering emails, and just for the record, to know, not people in this room, but anybody to know, because this is that you could be replaced. The only other replacement would be report, which is also an operation that's in our staff matrix. Our number one obligation is we have to file the report that we're here to do now. Everyone is required to file a report. And if someone's not in attendance, they still have to file the same report. The only difference is they're not voting. And so if they're not voting, they're not doing the reconsideration part, but they are doing that initial final vote. If you don't make this meeting to do the reconsideration, then you don't have to vote. So your final report should have been done last night when the link opened. Everybody's final reports need to be submitted before we leave today. So they have a short turnaround time. The report needs to be generated, get some stuff together for the board meeting. They have to have the information 2 weeks ahead of time, or
It's longer than that.
Or longer than that. So there's Dr. Fair has, she has to do this, and this by this date, because we're in the November meeting. So it's important that the last step of final report is finished today, so then they can do what they need to do the first minutes to prepare for the state board meeting and our presentation Any questions? I think everyone's in the process of doing a final report, but there were quite a few people that had never done final report before, so I don't know, Joe, any questions everybody's got on that?
And I think Kenya and Dr. Fair and Commissioner Linker are more than willing to be sure before you leave today that you've submitted. And so hopefully we'll be able to end up a little early so that you'll have time to submit your reports before you leave. It won't be on your mind lingering. And I know when we're talking about attendance, we're obviously singing to the choir in this room. This is the committee group. We will be doing some follow-up with the commissioners who did not submit the report and were not in attendance because it is important.
Dr. Moody, I'd like to add a comment just real quick about attendance. I would like to mention too that usually for the regular meetings, there's the virtual option. And even with the virtual option, we have had some issues this past year with people coming on the meeting or at break time or lunchtime going off and not coming back. And all of that causes issues with the quorum. So if you're going to commit to joining virtually, we really need for you to be sure that you're on that meeting. And the onus is even more important during virtual participation that you speak. We've talked with the attorneys in the past, and they've said that the virtual option is fine, but you have to speak through the platform so that people can know that you are in attendance for the meeting. Even when you're here in public, it's the same thing. You know, you need to speak every once in a while if you have something to say. It's not like you just got to speak and say anything, but when there is discussion, it would be helpful to have comments from as many of you as possible, but especially if you're in virtual attendance. And we do need to also think about the best practices for participating in the virtual meeting, because with me taking minutes and doing other things, it's very difficult if people start sending me messages or trying to send me messages saying, I can't get on, because a lot of times I will not be able to see it because I may be doing minutes or I may be dealing with the recording equipment or things like that. So if we